Hi, my name is Harriet Stevenson. I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on journalogging for life. Back in probably about 2014, I started just this version, keeping a journal, and by 2015 I had applied for a website URL, Journalogg.com. This Journalogg happens to be a combination of journal, diary, log, to-do list. It's been a very helpful device. Come to find out, just a whole lot of people keep journals. It's just an incredible number of people keep journals, and they have various ways of doing it. In my case, I want to just show you this. I've just gotten out for this. Whoops. I've gotten, this is my stack since 2014 that I've kept daily of journal logs, and it's 2 stacks worth. And then during that process, during that time, when there were special topics that I wanted to journal, like this stack is of my 2 years of, I journalogged my Uber driving, and then this is, these 2 are on my water aerobics experience, and then this stack is the one running also currently. Started back in 2016 with for journalogging the DTO experience, and this is just and then this is just my. If you're wondering, you know what kinds of things you keep journals in, you probably already keep a journal. And I just call this a journal log because it just seems to be a better way of describing its usefulness. And you know, a lot of journals have like different sections in them, or there's specific journals. Like here's one on gratitude. It says gratitude journal, and then this has like 52 lists for togetherness, journaling inspiration to deepen connections, and this weekly journaling, and then 3 moments a day, a guided journal for recording the well-being journal. Some of these I got just to see what other people are doing. This is more really turning this into a memoir sort of experience. And this right now, 90 creative prompts to motivate and inspire. And a lot of the journals have this built in. You set it up and you prompt different pages on it. And here's one just specifically the Mindful Life Journal, 7 minutes a day for a better, more meaningful life. And here's a 1-minute gratitude journal. Gratitude's oftentimes a part of this, and here's a guide to journaling. So just and different ways that you might set up a journal. This I thought this kind of would be a typical kind of thing you might see. Just all blank pages that would work for really quite well for it. And this one I really liked it. It's got a neat little inspirational thing on the front. The mountains are calling and I must go, and a John Muir quote. But then it's empty pages, and so there it is, all empty pages. Of course, this little guy cost $14.95. Woohoo! Then this so you can really kind of do virtually on this whatever works best for you. Journals are really fascinating. When I was doing initial research on this, and you know, I was just doing this myself. Mother had done it for years and years and years. She lived to be 95 and a half, and she kept writing, and she did an annual, so sort of like a diary, but every day she would write things, everything from things she paid to who called to, you know, and part of this was because on my side, or on her side of the family, we really have, our memories are not good. It's really bad. That is the case. My father had a good memory, but on my side, my mother, I mean, she was a teacher and she did great. It's just that trying to remember, and names, wow, it's just always been a challenge. And so one way she overcame this was she knew when we had called, when she recorded every item of anything she spent, so that she always had a record of things. And I found this actually to be very useful for me, a vital necessity, and really one as I've progressed, and as I've gotten older, it's really helpful. It's really helpful to keep track of things this way. And you know, people use these so many different ways. This one I had was looking through my files, and back in January of 2016, was reading about the heading on this was 52 years and counting, the power of daily writing. And so this Charlie Kempthorne wakes up each morning before sunrise, pours a cup of black coffee, opens his computer, and writes in a private journal he began in 1964. And he logs between 1,000 and 3,000 words a day. But this has been going on his entire life. It says his collection consumes about 15 feet of shelf space. Well, we all have different ways of doing things. And here he was 78 years old. So he's, wow, 70, it's about my age right now. And he has been doing this since 1964. And the thing is, he talks about when you translate an emotional experience into words, it organizes them in ways not organized before. It makes them easier and simpler to get past. That is, it explains it to himself better. And he's a psychology professor at the University of Texas and author of several books, including Writing to Heal. That is, he's referencing a book by a James Pennebaker, who talks about if you just take 15 or 20 minutes to write freely about emotions, secrets, or upheaval, can be a powerful tonic. And wow, it's a really good message. It just seems to help try to work through things and really understand things a lot better. And then when I was doing research to begin with on the whole benefits of these kinds of things, and what was good, and how valuable this whole thing about journaling is. Look, here's an article I found in 2015, right, sort of the beginning of my researching. And it's got 3 pages of it, and the whole title of it is it's a list. It says it's a list that says 100 benefits of journaling. 100 benefits of journaling. And this is, gosh, the titles on this: stress reduction, healing, personal growth. These are under categories. This is wild. Know yourself and your truth better, easier problem solving, flexible and easy, enhances intuition and creativity. My gosh, captures your life story. This 100 benefits of journaling. This is just one. This was in Appleseed's article. You read something like that and you think, oh wow, that's something I really want to take advantage of. And then this gal, Julia Cameron, I don't know if you've heard of her, but she has this thing called Morning Pages, and it's a, she talks, it's The Artist's Way is one of her books, and she talks, this morning pages are 3 pages of longhand, stream of conscious writing, done first thing in the morning. And she points out there's no wrong way to do morning pages. Not high art, they're not even writing. So, and you know the benefits of that. They're talking about, I mean, a lot of people are using this kind of thing, saying, okay, I'm just gonna do this every day. And then you see this, as I read more and more things about that, well, and this one, also there was an article in the Huffington Post, also in 2015, that I read come across, which was, the title of it was 10 Surprising Benefits You'll Get from Keeping a Journal. And wow, this was everything from stretching your IQ, to evoking mindfulness, to achieving goals, to developing emotional intelligence, to boosting memory and comprehension, to strengthening your self-discipline, my gosh, to improving your communication skills, healing, sparks your creativity, building self-confidence. My gosh, this was so exciting. This is so exciting. I certainly had wanted to get the benefits of these things, but I was also experiencing the benefits. So I was doing it and realizing, hey, this is really good. I wonder who else is doing it or what they're doing. And then as I read about this is a lot like what happened with the whole growth of dining together online, which is I did it and then realized, wow, this is really good. There's a whole lot here. And then did the research as I continued experiencing this, and try to realize, oh wow, why is this so good, and what is there about this? And then in that whole process, so this in realizing the many benefits of journaling, and or journalogging in this case I call it, because I just go through all sorts of things with it and have used it in various ways, and people use this in various ways. So it's a really just a very valuable kind of experience, and use it with the just recommend. It's a part of dining together online, a DTO session. You're taking one of the, like what I did actually on the DTOing when I was going to have a DTO session with my brother. Right in the regular Journalogg, I'd tag a page a few pages ahead and put a little tag on it that says this Journalogg DTO brother on such and such a time. Then just write down some notes about things I wanted to talk about with him. I'd read things during the week, or see things, or want to talk about something, and didn't want to forget it. We didn't want to call, or didn't want to discuss it ahead of time, so just write down a few notes about what I'd like. And also on that, you know, just got sort of, if I think about too ahead of time, maybe what I might like to have, what we might like to have for dinner, and or if heard something new, or read about a new recipe or something like that, then I just take a few notes down on it. And so by the time the next Wednesday came, that I have this, I have some things I had wanted to talk about, but could not have possibly remembered, and then I didn't have to spend my time while I'm talking with him thinking about, what was it I wanted to I wanted to tell him about. What was that? I had thought about this. It sounded like a great meal to have, but, you know, but now it's there. So that just really helps out. And then also, you know, when you're talking on something like when you're trying to really pay attention and be meaningfully engaged in the in this one-on-one dining together with the other person and your DTO partner, you want to be able to listen, really listen. And it's hard to listen if you're thinking about other things you're going to say. So it's really helpful to it's also helpful to take notes on it while the conversation's going on. So I just might have that page open then on the Journalogg, just right next to me, and a little note, pencil, and then also take notes. There might be something about what's going on, something he says that I want to comment on later or relate to, and just a quick note on it, and then I can just, you know, pay attention. So that really has helped out. Also, the whole thing on because DTO is also a total sort of thing. We got, you know, foods involved, connections involved, the recipes are involved, just what's going on. Maybe you got some activities going on, like my brother and I were always we're doing the 10,000 steps or whatever exercise he's doing. Actually, he's on an exercycle now, a total exercise kind of thing, and less of the actual walking because his back is a little bit out of, his spine's not quite as good not quite as strong as it could be, and so so we track these kinds of things. We might also be tracking some foods we found during the week if we haven't already called each other about it, or grocery shopping, found something kind of special, and that can be all part of our writing this down. And the whole process on that of new things we find, new maybe what we found at the grocery store, new things we found, but new pricing, how things have been changed due to the pandemic, due to wearing masks, to how this affects things, and all this it's kind of nice to write this down. Also, geez, what we're finding, what I'm finding, my brother does not Journalogg. This isn't for everybody, and I told somebody else about it, and they thought it was totally unnecessary. but so, you know, as with most things, different strokes, different folks, and some people have just fantastic memories and don't need these kinds of things. But this is also what I found on journalogging, my daily journal log. Like when I was able to go back through the Journalogg experiences with my brother, and really when I look at these and kind of analyze what's going well, how could I improve, how could we get more out of it even, and just in general, if you're focusing even more on concentrating on interacting almost with what's happening, the regular daily journal log, when you're interacting with experiences that are going on, it's sort of a matter, you almost, it's a way almost of reliving the experience, of becoming more mindful about it, of really trying to understand. It's really interesting when I was writing a section on DTOing, writing a section on the benefits from DTOing. My gosh, when I was able to go back and look at the material and look at the research and all this, oh wow, this is definitely a benefit, this is a benefit. And then that also reinforces of your feeling of, wow, I'm on the right track. And you get more out of, it's a great way of getting more out of experiences in general. So like when I journalogged the Uber experience, kind of was a way to take out my frustrations on paper with some of the passengers, or my own frustrations with maybe the fact that I'm sure that some of the engineers who put up those traffic signs are just laughing all the way to the grave about watching us try to maneuver those. The sense of humor is really sick. But in any event, I could take out my frustrations on the paper and really try to deal with, it uses problem solving. Well, I don't really want this to happen again, so how can I, and then also that was really great because how can I better set this up so that, these were in the earlier days actually of the Ubering around here, so maybe didn't get as much help from the company as you might think you maybe should, and I got a bit of help from my brother, for my DTO partner, on how I could put the GPS and how I could put this stuff and hook it up on the dashboard, and how I could do these things so that it would really be helpful. And so I was able to, use the Journalogg as a way of trying to make my Uber driving better, and use it as a problem-solving device, as a way of just expressing my frustrations, and then use it for problem solving. Not just you could find that you don't have to just use this as well. Actually, my another experience. My granddaughter lived with me for 5 or 6 years, and I found myself really using this as an opportunity to just I'm frustrated with my own inabilities sometimes to handle things, or my own frustration. She was delightful to have here, but regular kinds of issues of living with anyone, And but my rather than just we're able to rather than just take out the frustrations. I used the Journalogg as a way of trying to work through, hey, what are some of these kinds of solutions? And so it was really interesting. And all this time, too, I was doing research on DTO and research on, one of the things I had wanted to do was to use a journal for writing a book. So that was also part of the motivation of keeping a decent, information and exploring different things. Because I thought, hey, I wanted to write a book, and this just seemed to be, that'd be great. And then actually setting it up to be able to use a journalogging, and then ended up calling this thing Journalogging for Life, and how all of that just so ties together, because it helps you, journaling helps you kind of work through things, figure things out, helps you try to figure out what's important, helps you maybe become more mindful, and helps you think about what you don't want to repeat again, or gives you some insights about what you did do. And it's great now. It also was the whole arena of connection. That's such a part of this. And if your memory, you probably have a good memory, but if your memory is a little bit tricky, then you might count on this a little bit to help you out by meeting, when you meet people, just writing down a few things in your journalog about that. And I found this actually very helpful when I first joined the water aerobics. And although I was probably the oldest person in there at the time, and still am, but I found out actually that their memories weren't that much better than mine. And for names, not very many of them are very good at names. And so I just really made a very conscious effort of memorizing the names, of getting to know them, and then keeping a journal about who was there and who did what, and something about them, and all that too. The more mindful I was about getting information and getting to know them, and then getting it down, the better we kind of got to know each other. It was really helpful. And then like when my daughter visited from Morocco, she teaches abroad, and I took her to the water aerobics class, and really all these things also just really help reinforce to me the importance of the whole subject of connections, and what kinds of things enhance relationships. Because the more kinds of things, like the water aerobics gals, more kinds of things we share and have in common, and that really enhances the connection, and we're able to see how this operates. Like now, right now, as I'm recording this, we're in still in the lockdown stages of the virus, and it's really been great having those connections that have been so supportive during this time. We do it through Facebook or through text messaging, and actually we're going to do we're going to do we're going to quote DTO our, we have a happy hour. We're going to have it about 2 o'clock in the afternoon on this Friday. I got to figure out how to get the Zoom going and get the meetings, which is a learning experience for me. I've been Zooming, but I haven't been the one that set up the meeting and put it out. So all of this, and I relate all this back to the journal and journal logging, because it's just an example of how all these things just kind of tie together, and it's really kind of fun to see, and to keep a journal log, how you grow and what you learn, what I learn through this whole process. And then also it's a whole thing, you know, the more it helps me become more mindful, and how exciting that is, because this relates to that, relates to that, relates to that. And the more this goes, your mind is going bum, 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 bum. It's very exciting, very stimulating, and it leads to kind of creativity. And like on the all of this leads back also to DTO and the creativity. We see this, like I see this in terms of what my brother and I are doing with experimenting with food and different kinds of things. And you take a recipe and well, we did it this way this time. I wonder what other ways there are. And we compare notes on how each other does it, and then we come up with new ways of doing it. And so we kind of like to try, at least to start with, we like to try new things, do things kind of differently. New wines we like to try. Or I'm trying out new non-alcoholic wines if I can find them. There are not that many. So, but it's really the journaling is a very valuable kind of thing. And one of the things, it's really, the value of it is so, I can really see it today with this whole thing of the stress and anxiety and the loneliness and all of the social distancing, and there's physical distancing. You just see the value so much in this. Just realizing how this helps with connecting, how this helps work out frustrations with the press, frustrations with politics, frustrations with exasperation, and I really found it very helpful. The DTOing is really helpful with issues of trying to work through grief, but the actual DTOing, the verbal on the DTOing is very important, and lacking that, the activity of cooking and all of its meanings is really good for trying to handle grief to a certain extent. And when doing research for this on the journaling, I found that journaling really is used quite extensively for doing memoirs. People are using the journal as a method of for doing. I was reading on memoirs. It's almost so many of them are journaling really grief experiences. It's just a really important, valuable kind of way of working through things, of getting it down on paper, expressing it. Everything from the morning diary, a widow's story, Her, a memoir, Wild, Death Be Not Proud, Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Genius, The Long Goodbye, a memoir, The Year of Magical Thinking. I read that myself by Joan Didion when one of my DTO partners, the other DTO partner, I really only have two, a friend in Arizona who lost her husband 2 years ago, and we spent hours first on the phone, and then daily I would call her and listen, and hours, and then moved into, said, hey, really, we got a DTO, and so we started DTOing once a week. And so the benefits of DTOing, the possibilities for during a grief situation, because it's a mindful thing. It's almost, you know, while you are thinking about the food, the conversing with somebody else and all, it's a mindful kind of experience, and it enabled, because the mind supposedly can only think of one thing at a time. Then if we make this a mindful kind of experience, then we can these other things kind of, at least for that period of time, are not impacting. But so during that whole thing, I read a lot on grief, and trying to figure out how you communicate, how the best way to communicate and be for somebody when they're going through this experience. And that gave me some insights, I think, on really how, and the importance of listening. Gosh, just the importance of listening so many times. And realizing, trying to develop advice on communicating on DTO. There's so many different ways of communicating with people, but wow, the one thing that really was through all of that was the listening thing, and sort of just the general thing on communication or something, listening to be understood, and this writing, this journalogging is a way of taking our, verbalizing, getting it into this in a handwriting, or you can obviously do a journal on. You can do it online if you're into the typing or the word processing. If you're into doing it in the computer or digitally rather than writing. But there is something for a lot of people about just the writing of it, and what translating it into what that does when you translate your thoughts and your emotions into writing and get them out on paper. And that just seems to be, and from what I can see of all of the memoirs, it just the whole batch of memoirs that that I ran across and read about that in this process, and have over the past 4 or 5 years. It's been amazing how journaling is used. And so, you know, whether one calls this a journal, a journal log, and people have different ways of doing this. Of course, some suggest, you know, some of those things you see, and you can pay lots of money for it if you want to, but almost all of them, or a lot of them, recommend you do something like daily or relatively regularly in terms of writing, and that usually most of us involved that feel pretty strongly about a gratitude component, because the importance of gratitude and on attitude, and that seems to be a really important thing, and just the doing of it with some regularity seems to be really important. At a particular time, maybe, you know, developing a habit doing it. Looks like the whole thing about getting habits, and then what this also does is you realize you develop a habit, and you realize these kinds of things all tap into this thing, the dopamine and the oxytocin and the thing, the stimulation you get from goal accomplishment, and you get that out of just doing a journal log, and you feel better. You just feel better, and you do this every day. Just rain or shine, doesn't have to be an elaborate kind of thing, and over time, then you figure out what's the best way to use it for yourself, and what ways you can really develop it. But I hope you can benefit from this, and hope you'll give it a try too when you're just a shortened version of it, a little side version of it for when you're DTOing. I think it'll enhance your experience of dining together online. So, thank you.